So if you have just joined, we're going to be sharing a story that I've been writing. It's about a young elf named Alaseir. So someone sent me in this character idea. Their idea was an elf ranger who is a master of bows and other range weaponry from Roendale, which is kind of near the center wood, this giant tree from which all magic springs. That's where this elf is from. The river water rushed by as Alaseir stood waist deep in frigid depths of blue. Bubbles surfaced on the water. Alaseir took one look below and dove down without a second thought. A Roendalian charm of amber shone brilliantly from around his neck, golden light against the blue as Alaseir swam down towards the riverbed. There, beneath the water, lying on the riverbed, a battered shroom crow struggled to rise to the surface. Alaseir set the crow in his sights and scooped it in his hands as he rose to the surface. Breaking through the water into the open air, Alaseir breathed deeply, gasping for air. After a great lack of it, Alaseir shook his head as he reached the shallows, his turquoise hair parting ways with the river water. He lay down on a riverbank with the crow on his chest rising and falling with each breath. "You okay there, little dude?" Alaseir smiled, still partly out of breath. The shroom crow coughed and sputtered for a bit before stretching out its wings. It almost reached full extension, but then shuddered in pain, reaching back and returning to a more protective pose. "Got your wing there in a right twist, have you?" Alaseir replied, sitting up. The crow tweeted softly against the afternoon air. Alaseir reached over to a large pack lying against the tree, set aside before he dove into the water. "This will only take a second." The young wood elf now had bandages in his hand, which he wrapped expertly around the bird's broken wing. "There you go." Alaseir spoke softly to the bird. "I'm not usually in this part of the woods, Alaseir continued, looking at the shroom crow as it timidly trotted about on the riverbank. "Bet you're glad I stopped by and saw you fall from that tree there." Alaseir looked up at the ancient tree. "Hunters are the worst. You know, people's just got to be better informed about things, that's all." The bird looked up at Alaseir, a bit puzzled by the strange teal-haired boy. "Well, we best be getting you somewhere warm and dry. Are you good with that?" Alaseir questioned. The little shroom crow nodded, hopping into Alaseir's palm. "Well, right as rain. Let's get going." Alaseir held the crow in his hand as he tossed on his pack and swung his staff over his shoulder. Then they journeyed out into the afternoon wood. The boy and the bird approached a hollowed tree with an entrance just below the roots. "Home sweet home," Alaseir exclaimed. He stepped over the roots of the tree, ducking his head as he entered the inner chamber. It was much larger and homey than it seemed from an outside first glance. It was a great dome of wood, with lanterns set on either end of the chamber. A shelf of well-worn books and tomes sat on the eastern end, and a small kitchen on the western. In the center sat a hearth of wood and kindling. Alaseir set the crow on his bed as he went about setting the fire to light. The fire sparked and roared to life. "I'll get you something to eat." Alaseir searched the pantries and drawers for some sight of food. After a while, he found half a loaf of bread. And that's what I got written up to now for this story. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Just a little story. Alaseir the Elf. And yeah, it's been really fun writing these, and something that I found in writing that's been really cool is descriptive like imagery. I love like the poetic imagery that Tolkien uses in his writings, and that's something I've been like striving for. So you can really get the feeling that you're in that place, and it just kind of caresses your brain a little bit. It's just nice and beautiful to hear it, and yeah. And working on like the world building and like different charms and stones and magic and stuff like that. And the shroom crow, I imagine it kind of like a black crow, but then with like little mushrooms growing all over his back and on his head and stuff. Kind of like a fungus crow, fungus bird, a bird that's covered in fungi. So yeah, it's been really cool to write and figure out different voices for these characters. I love voice acting, and that's been really cool to work on as well. So yeah, it's been really awesome.